Yes, so we're back again. After doing the sense, we're going to go to the motor parts. So what are we going to check on the motor parts? There are different things which we're going to check in the motor parts, such as muscle tone and muscle bulkness, muscle power. We're also going to test about coordination, and you're also going to test about gait. So we're going to go through one thing after the other. Starting with muscle tone. So in the muscle tone, it's just the ability of that patient when you're trying to apply, when you're trying to apply a certain stretching action towards a certain part, especially the joints of the elbow, the knee, that sort of resistance that a patient can actually show is what's known as the muscle tone. So for example, in muscle tone there are different types. You may get someone is having total absence of the muscle tone, or sometimes known as atonia. So that patient, if you just do this, it just comes up. And then you can have someone who is having a hypotonia, so whereby it is reduced, tone is reduced. And this can also be seen in different types of conditions, such as stroke, Parkinsonism, and some other more, you see. And then also there's also hypertonia, in which the tone is actually exaggerated. So for example, you can get it in different types of conditions, especially in the upper and the lower motor lesions. And then you have something called dystonia, which there is repetitive. So for example, repetitive movements. For example, you have these patients who are convulsing. You can actually see that sort of repeated movement towards the affected parts. I think in the muscle tone, it's actually known. So how do you report? You can say maybe if there is a problem with the muscle tone, you tell us. That after assessing the muscle tone of the patient, I found that there was absence of muscle tone, which was atonia, as the patient was unable to resist the extension maybe of a certain part of the body. You see, you can tell us in that way. And then after that, you go to something called muscle power. Let's talk about muscle power. I hope we're together. Yes, before we go on, if you haven't followed our page on YouTube, go to 255 Health plus 255 Health, and then hit that subscribe button and hit the notification button, and make sure you send your likes, and also try to write any topic that you want me to talk about, depending on your support, so that we can make our page go viral. So in the muscle power, you're going to rate it from 0 to 5. So this is going to tell you exactly how the muscle power is.
In the muscle power scale, you can score 0 when there's no contraction at all. You can score 1 if there's only flicker or trace movement of contraction. You can score 2 if there's active movement with gravity eliminated. You can score 3 if there's active movement against gravity. So that means your movement should go against the gravity which is pulling it down. And then score 4 if there's active movement against both gravity and resistance. So you're going to try to apply resistance to your patient and see if he's able to withstand it. And then finally 5, which is normal power.
So after that, I hope it's well understood. So after that, you report it. So when you report, I expect you to tell me that my patients, if it's not affected, in the motor exam, the muscle power was 5/5. Was 5/5. So that's the way you're going to report it. You understand? So after that, you go to muscle bulkness. So muscle bulkness, you can actually do it by even just doing the regular observation. You can see, for example, you have a malnutritional person. You just see the muscles are just so weak and flaccid. So you see the muscle bulkness of that just by observation. But then you can also try now, for example, you can actually try grabbing maybe these triceps and you can see the consistencies of the muscle. So to help you to know if the muscle, there's effect of muscle bulkness or not. So muscle bulkness is seen in those severe conditions, malnutrition. Maybe someone who's having chronic illness, or maybe someone is having a certain chronic, maybe is using a certain treatment. Someone is on radiotherapy or on chemotherapy, you see. And then after that, we should also check for coordination. Very important. So in coordination, what do you actually look for? So in coordination, you're checking the ability now of the patient to actually coordinate the motor actions. For example, there's a normal system someone can use. Maybe as an example, you can use finger to nose coordination.
Open with your right index finger, touch my finger over here, touch your nose, touch my finger again, your nose, my finger, your nose. Good. Other side, my finger, your nose, my finger, your nose, my finger.
So in case some people have a problem with coordination, especially people who are stroke patients. So you can find, if you're going to check for coordination for this person, when he's doing this, you find that sometimes it actually diverges. Instead of going to the tongue, it goes to somewhere else. So it helps you to know if there's a certain lesion and where you can actually locate the lesion. And then after that, you have something called gait. So gait is just that, and it tries to trace the way the movement actually goes. For example, in gait, we're looking about the ability of the patient to move, movement of the patient in a straight line. In a straight line, or sometimes you can just say in an ordinary fashion, meaning in the just normal state. See, so you can draw a line down here, and then you can actually tell the patient to close the eyes, then actually try to walk and see if that patient can actually walk on that line after he has seen it. You understand? So that line going down marks the way the patient walks. So you have to take the note. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish it up with a summary. So it's very important for you to show us the summary and the findings that you have found on the central nervous system examination. So for example, we have a patient who is a stroke patient. Maybe upon reviewing the higher centers, you found the following abnormalities. Your patient has high levels of consciousness, 15 or 15. On the cranial nerve examination, facial nerve affected. And then going to the sensory examination, there was absence of superficial and deep reflexes. And at the same time, the patient was unable to respond to both pain and pressure and temperature. Going to the motor part, you find that the patient was actually in the muscle tone. There was hypoexaggeration. There was hypotonia and normal muscle bulkness, but also muscle power was affected. On the lower limbs, both lower limbs, and had the muscle power of 3/5, you see. And then I finally finished by coordination and gait. Coordination was disorganized. And wasn't congruent, and wasn't systematic. And then you go to the gait, The patient actually had a gait which was affected, in which he used, look at maybe the way they used extra strength in walking maybe, and was unable to walk, on straight line. You see this, and then you finally finish up. There is no signs of meningeal rotation. You see. So this is just roughly it, our summary. So we're going to say that I presented a patient, maybe ED, 80 years of age, who's a non-stroke patient. In the higher centers, the patient was fully conscious with a Glasgow score of 15/15. His intelligence, together with his orientation, judgment, language, was not affected, as he was able to respond to each one of them respectively. But on the cranial nerve examination, I noticed that the facial nerve was highly affected. And after that, I did a sensory exam whereby there was an absence of both superficial and deep reflexes in both upper and lower limbs, and the patient was unable to respond to both pain, tire pressure, together with temperature. On the motor examination, I found that the muscle tone was now affected, as he had hypotonia on both of the lower limbs, and the patient has a reduced muscle power over 3/5. Coordination was disorganized and wasn't systemic, together with the gait being affected in a way that he had to use extra strength to walk, and he was unable to walk in a straight line. Checking on the meningeal rotation, the patient was away from all the meningeal signs, which were Kernig's and Brzezinski sign. You see how it goes. On the walking style of the patient, is the patient struggling or something? Is the patient going from left to right? Is the patient actually dragging himself in walking? So all these things are going to report. So at the end of the day, you're going to tell that maybe the patient has got a normal gait and things like that. I think it's well understood. So ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of our presentation. I hope the central nervous system now is actually easy for you. And I hope you use this in your upcoming exam, and I'm sure that you're going to get good results if you follow what we have actually discussed. I have nothing else to say than thank you. This is on behalf of +225 Health, and on YouTube, we thank you for your endless support. Don't forget to keep on subscribing. Go to YouTube, write +255 Health, and then make sure you hit the subscribe button, like, share with the topic which you want me to do next. So I hope next time we'll also have another session, and this time let's go back for a little bit of mental health and see if we can talk about common things which actually affect mental health, especially in a society. So on behalf of +255 Health, I, Dr. Enes Winuka, would like to say thank you.